On June 25th, 1876, the harsh plains of Montana lay before us as we, the soldiers of the 7th Cavalry, rode steadily beneath the blazing sun. The ground beneath our feet was parched and fragile, mirroring the tension that permeated the atmosphere. I, Lieutenant Winfield Scott Edgerly, was a member of the battalion commanded by Major Marcus Reno. We had received orders from General George Armstrong Custer to advance towards a Native American encampment situated along the Little Bighorn River. Unbeknownst to us, this day would be etched in history as one of the most catastrophic defeats for the U.S. military, a moment that many would refer to as Custer's last stand. The circumstances leading to that tragic outcome were a blend of tactical errors, failures in communication, and a grave underestimation of the strength of the Native American forces assembled at the river's edge. The aftermath revealed not only the might of the Lakota Sioux, Cheyenne, and Arapaho warriors, but also the hubris and overconfidence that led to the downfall of Custer's command. The day began with an unsettling calm. By 10 a.m., we found ourselves positioned approximately 15 miles from the vast Native encampment. From the hilltops, Custer and his scouts, consisting of Crow and Ree men who had long been allies of the cavalry, surveyed the landscape, assessing the size of the village below. It was colossal, far exceeding our expectations. His strategy for a dawn assault the following morning, when surprise would be in our favor, was suddenly abandoned. A small contingent of Native scouts had detected our movements, leading Custer to believe that the element of surprise had been forfeited. In his typical audacity, Custer commanded an immediate advance. He presumed, as many in the army did, that the mere sight of the 7th Cavalry would cause the Native warriors to retreat. He could not have been more mistaken. What we now understand is that this encampment was not merely a defenseless group of families. The village was home to some of the most formidable leaders and warriors of the Great Plains, including Sitting Bull, whose vision had foretold a significant victory just days prior, and Crazy Horse, whose tactical brilliance would outmaneuver Custer's disjointed forces. Custer split our regiment into 4 battalions. Major Reno was tasked with leading an assault from the south. Captain Frederick Benteen was assigned to the left flank to prevent any escape. While Captain McDougal was responsible for guarding the pack train, Custer himself commanded 5 companies, approximately 300 men, on a parallel path to Reno. His objective was to trap the village between these forces, causing chaos among them. I rode alongside Benteen's battalion, following orders to scour the ridges for any stragglers. The terrain impeded our progress. We came across a series of hills, each one monitored by scouts, yet no signs of the enemy were visible. By the time we crossed paths with Reno's trail around midday, the circumstances had changed drastically. An orderly arrived bearing a message from Custer. "We have located a large village. Quicken your pace and bring up the packs." There was a palpable sense of urgency, yet confusion persisted. Reno had already engaged the village by the time we reached the area. As we approached the Little Bighorn, gunfire erupted in the valley below. I observed men fleeing up the bluffs to the east, crossing the river in an attempt to escape. Initially, we believed they were pursuing the retreating Indians, but the reality was far more concerning. These were our own troops. Reno had been compelled to retreat following a disastrous charge into the village. His battalion, overwhelmed by the sheer number of warriors, had incurred heavy losses and was now in dire need of reinforcements. We joined him on the bluffs, where the wounded were scattered, some bleeding profusely as they cried out for water that was nowhere to be found. From the heights of the bluff, we could see dust rising in the distance, a sign of another intense battle occurring to the north. We could hear the sound of gunfire reverberating across the plains, emanating from the direction where Custer's command had last been observed. My commanding officer, Colonel Ware, approached me. "What should we do?" he inquired, and without delay I suggested that we proceed to assist Custer. Although no orders had been issued, Ware concurred, and together with D Troop, we prepared to mount our horses. As we progressed toward Custer's last known location, the situation began to evolve. Native warriors emerged on the horizon, swiftly moving to intercept our advance. We altered our course, taking a parallel route to the north, where we encountered additional troops led by Benteen and Captain Godfrey. The warriors opened fire as we reached a nearby bluff, compelling us to adopt a defensive stance. For the next 30 minutes, we engaged in a firefight, maintaining our position until Reno signaled for a retreat. The sounds of gunfire from Custer's position had ceased. The following morning brought somber news. General Terry's column arrived with reinforcements, and it was at that moment we learned of Custer's fate. His entire command had been decimated, annihilated by the united forces of the Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho warriors. As we descended into the battlefield, the scene that unfolded before us was distressing. Custer's men lay scattered in the dust, their bodies dispersed across the hillsides, many stripped of their uniforms. The officers had fallen where they had led, with Lieutenants Calhoun and Crittenden still positioned in a skirmish line. Colonel Keogh's body was discovered near the knoll, where Custer made his final stand, his men having attempted to retreat. Custer's body, strangely, remained intact. Unlike many of his men who had suffered mutilation, his brother Tom Custer, however, had been horrifically disfigured, a testament to the warrior's profound animosity. It was a peculiar and haunting detail that Custer himself had been spared such a fate. We found him lying next to his other brother, Boston Custer, and his nephew Reed. Nearby, we stumbled upon a native burial ground, 2 teepees containing the remains of warriors who had perished in battle. They were attired and secured to poles, a distinction reserved for those who had perished heroically. The ponies that had accompanied them in life were gathered around the camp, another sign of honor. These traditions, unfamiliar to me, conveyed the profound respect these individuals had for their deceased. As I contemplate those days, the burden of what we observed becomes increasingly heavy. What we had anticipated to be a quick victory transformed into a remarkable defeat. Custer's excessive confidence, his choice to divide his forces, and his misjudgment of the native warriors culminated in one of the most significant military catastrophes in American history. Nevertheless, I cannot help but admire the warriors who fought that day. They were not merely protecting their village. They were safeguarding a way of life that had nourished their people for generations. While we interred our fallen, they achieved a victory that would echo throughout history. The battle may have resulted in a loss for the U.S. Army, but for the native tribes it represented a moment of triumph, a testament to their strength and resilience against overwhelming odds. Winfield Scott Edgerly's narrative offers a vivid and contemplative view of the tumultuous aftermath of Custer's last stand. Through his perspective, we witness both the strategic blunders that led to the destruction of Custer's command and the cultural importance of the battle for the Native American tribes. His reflections serve as a reminder that this was not simply a confrontation of military forces, but a profound struggle for survival, identity, and respect on both sides. Thank you for tuning in to History Addict. Please remember to subscribe and accompany us on this journey through the past.